always be content in every situation, and no matter what, always be generous. What's going on, guys? It's Jonathan here. This is more of a financially leaning episode. I know as young professionals, a lot of us deal with this. What I'd love to do is have a guest on or a friend to come on the show. So if you'd be interested in doing that, just as a conversation, we can do that over Zoom. Depending on where you live, we may be able to do that in person as well. Chat back and forth about this topic. Today is very short and sweet, and it's from my own life experience thus far. Still a lot of life left to experience and a lot of things to learn. That said, this is very, very helpful, and it has changed my life. Before we get into that, go ahead and smash the like button down below and hit the subscribe button to help this YouTube algorithm leveling up so we can have more people to check out the show and therefore motivate me to make more episodes, get more guests on the show, bring you even better content so I can pour that back into the show and invest into it more and more. I'm really excited about this topic because everyone knows about frugality. Everybody wants to talk about it. When you spend money, you're giving your income to someone else. You're giving it away so when you detach yourself from perceived or maybe very real in the moment high, the momentary high of acquiring another material item or possession, when you detach yourself from that high and then just look at the other part of that transaction, what happens? You lose your income. It's gone. You gave it to someone else. So there was a quote I heard said very enthusiastically, do not give your income to someone else. Do not give your income to someone else via spending. This hit me so hard. I've been very frugal over the last few years especially. If you know me, you're a personal friend of mine, then you know your boy's frugal. Not cheap, but frugal. What I love about frugality, right, is this first concept I want to touch on is this. Frugality actually yields a higher quality lifestyle. Here's why. If you're truly frugal and you truly look at it philosophically on like a deep level, you're going to invest in better items, the best of the best typically, higher quality, long-lasting things. Your furniture is going to be long-lasting. It's not going to be made of particle board. It's going to cost more upfront, possibly, maybe less if you get it from an estate sale, who knows. You're going to be purchasing a vehicle for quality and longevity, perhaps. You're also going to be purchasing clothing that's very high quality, that's not only seasonal and only 1 year of lasting. You're going to be purchasing classic styles that that yield a year after year benefit and usability. So when you hear frugality, I don't want you to hear cheap. It's very, very different. It's actually the opposite, because what happens is if you get in a cycle of just spending, following the style and the trends that fade away month after month, you're going to end up buying a lot more expensive clothes over and over again until you're broke, or you're going to buy cheaper versions of designer clothing or whatever the trends are, and you're going to just keep buying it and have to throw it out after like 10 wears or whatever it is. The concept behind this, let me take a winter coat, for example. Shout out to Matt McKeever, past guest, another past guest of real estate. I call him, I guess, a young king, these guys. Okay, I've had him on the show. Matt McKeever and Mike Rosehart. Go ahead and check out those episodes and search for both of them on YouTube. They spoke about a book recommendation called Early Retirement Extreme. Before you judge the title of the book, just look it up. It's a really, really good book on frugality. It helped me to kind of conceptualize different pieces and fragments of frugality in ways I never had before, and it really helped me out. One of the concepts that they really drive home in that book is he talks about an example of purchasing a winter coat. Let's say you buy a cheap winter coat for like maybe, I don't know, what's a cheap winter coat? Like $50 to even up to $100 because it's in style. Even $150 perhaps, right? You buy that coat. It's maybe made of like cheaper material, polyester instead of wool. It gets worn out faster, whatever it is. So each year you have to buy another one. Okay, so after 5 years, let's say the coat's $100. You have spent $500 for winter coats. Even if you split that up over 2 years, right? You buy a new one every 2 years. But again, if you're also buying for style, you got to throw that variable in there. So let's say every year you buy a coat for $7,500. That's $500 after 5 years. And each year, by the way, that's opportunity cost of time spent shopping, buying another coat that's cheap again. And the versatility of cheaper clothing is a lot lower, especially in the category of a winter coat. And here's what he was explaining was, why not wait and invest in a $500 coat, for example? Let's take like a Patagonia multi-season jacket that you can kind of wear on a cool spring day, but also will keep you warm on like a sub 40 degree Fahrenheit type of weather. So it will keep you warm almost in the cold winter and also in like a cool spring day. So it's very versatile. So therefore you can purchase less. You have a higher quality, longer lasting jacket that cost you maybe twice as much in the moment, but over that 5 year span, you only spent maybe $300, $400, even $500, right, for a winter coat. I would probably stay under like $300 for sure. But you know, you get a high quality coat. Maybe it's made of wool, maybe instead of like a cheap polyester. And the concept of this is to think about frugality as actually a lot nicer. What happens is you get more free time because you're not spending time throwing out, donating your cheap, worn out clothes every year. You're not spending money and time shopping for another cheap coat. And you have that reliable coat that has a lot more versatility, by the way. And so this concept can be applied to just about every area of frugality. Now, there's no perfect material item. That's not the point. The point was, if you simply invest up front a higher price typically for a higher quality, it doesn't mean it has to be higher price, by the way, if you shop around and you get real serious about Craigslist and bartering and going that route. But again, that's a lot more time being spent. So you got to kind of weigh the opportunity there, what works for you. I love this concept though, because what happens is when you don't spend, like frugality doesn't mean you don't spend. It just means you spend in choice ways at choice times and in ways that you've planned for. So, you know, sometimes there's unforeseen things that come up that happen. We understand that. That aside, the large majority of your life, you can have a plan for like what and when you're going to buy what. Oh, John, you don't have kids. You have no idea. Fair enough. But I'm talking about you and your life alone, I guess, for this example, okay? Also, there's so many different areas of finance and personal finance. And so what I will share with you as well is this concept of not spending. The reason I think it hits so hard, imagine you're walking down the street, right? And you just got your paycheck. If you work a W-2 job, you walk past some random person, not a homeless person, just a random person. They're well-dressed, whatever. They're just walking down the street. Maybe you stop and you go up to them and say, "Hello, ma'am or sir, how are you doing today?" And you just stick out your hand with your entire paycheck or 20% of your paycheck in cash and give it to them. So then you walk away and the person's like, "What?" And you just walk away. And then you look in your hand and realize 20% of your check that you just worked your butt off for is gone. It's gone. You're not going to get it back ever. That's it. It's gone. So this concept of do not give your income to someone else is so powerful. When you start to associate spending with pain and discomfort and irritation, this is the point of this episode right here, right now. Every time we buy something we don't need, or even you may kind of need it, every single time we buy something, like another toy, a material item, an extra purchase, here's the thing. That will postpone that bigger goal purchase. I'm talking about a house. I'm talking about a safe vehicle that, you know, maybe a new vehicle just that you really want. Whatever that bigger goal is. You know, I want to touch back on that earlier retirement extreme book as well to kind of emphasize the point that I don't believe in retirement really at all. I think it's a farcical concept that kills people, for example. I believe we all need to be like doing something, working on something. And I think there's a lot of studies out there that show it's not really good for you. So here's the thing. That aside, that book talks very little about actual retirement and like what you're going to do when you get to quit your job in your 30s and stuff. It doesn't even really talk about that at all. It just talks about how to live on less or live creatively, and so that your expenses and cost of living is at such a low, easygoing rate that you don't even consider. But then it also garnishes that philosophy with, you're not living real cheap. I mean, maybe you are. Some people take it to the extreme and they really do live off like maybe hand-me-downs, or they get like, secondhand clothes all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I really liked about that book, I kind of shared that concept of, it's not a cheap lifestyle. I always kind of had that like, oh, I can be frugal for a season, but man, that's a bummer. The reality is, frugality is actually not a bummer. I've been doing it since I was in college, and I can tell you, it really does yield quicker results. So, for example, going back to not spending equals getting to your goal quicker. What's your big goal right now? I want to ask you, what does your ideal lifestyle look like? There's a really popular podcast by Tim Ferriss. He is an angel investor. He invested in Uber, I believe, and Twitter in the early days, and he's since started multiple companies and invested in a ton of the Silicon Valley ones. Tim wrote a book for our work week. He also wrote a book, Tools of Titans. He's a very, very well-known author and podcaster. In his book, or going outside of the book, I guess, the concept I want to share with you guys is about total monthly income. Like, what does your dream life look like? And don't be ashamed. If your dream life includes a specific type of car, a specific type of house, a specific ability to buy certain types of clothing, write all that down. Do the math on what that will cost you. If it's a one-time purchase, if it's a monthly subscription type thing, write it all down and write it out too, right? Write it out like on a just a Word doc on your computer. It doesn't have to be real serious. Write down, what do you want to have the ability to do? How generous do you want to be able to be? And what will that look like? Where will you go and donate your time and your efforts and your energy? And where will you, be generous with your, finances? And if you can really write down your total monthly income required to achieve that life, I guarantee you it's less than you think, and probably by a whole lot. I think the important thing to consider with this is why even go there is because so many of us are maybe you're unhappy in your day-to-day life, or you just kind of feel like you never have any joy, or you're always stressed out. There was a quote, I think, from Oprah. It said something to the effect of, everybody's always so stressed and feels so stressed because they feel like they have to do something. I don't feel that way anymore. That was Oprah, I believe, something like that. When you have the free will and the choice, I think that's the whole point of maybe financial freedom, right? For me, I think that's a noble goal, a noble lifestyle to be ambitious for. What that looks like for people will vary from person to person, but there are some underlying principles that will be common thread to achieve that. And what I've been doing is I've been having some guests on who are financial experts and industry leading, by the way. I had somebody from Dave Ramsey's team. We had Anthony O'Neill on the show. So we're getting some lessons. I'm reading books. But this concept of what does your actual ideal life look like and why aren't you living it? A lot of people will make the excuse of, if I just had a little bit more money, if I just had a little bit more of that money, right? Imagine you woke up today and there was $100 million in your bank account, and on the first of every month, it replenished itself to $100 million. No matter what you did, you couldn't stop it from happening. How would you spend your time? What would you do with your life? I think it's so important to just have these pattern interrupts and these questions asked of yourself, and to kind of recalibrate from time to time, because we can get especially with this quarantine thing, so many people have lost their job. Maybe you're working from home now and you've been slightly isolated, or you're just the days are blending together at this point. It's really, really crucial to ask yourself questions like this repeatedly, because here's the thing, and this is something else that slapped me in the face, metaphorically. if you go after this stuff, or you actually ask yourselves and answer these questions honestly or not, the time will pass anyway. And I'm not saying that these are the be all end all solutions to all of your problems. All right, don't get it twisted. But I am saying they could drastically improve your daily life a lot, even just the quality of your life, what you're putting up with, different things. And they can really, that can increase your yield of what you actually are able to produce. Because if you're living very much in your sweet spot and in the zone and things are going well, but you're still choosing to challenge and push yourself in areas of, that you really are passionate about and that are edifying and lifting other people up, it's going to refuel the fire. It's going to compound. And then over time, you're just going to be like, wow, what just happened in the last 2, 4, 5 years? And then your life is an amazing story that really touched a lot of lives. I think all of us kind of want that in some way or another. I could be wrong for you, maybe not. But for me, I personally do. I believe there's a story for everyone. And it doesn't have to be this big, grand, famous story, but it can be something that really matters to a lot of people. And you do matter, and your voice matters now, and it's your turn. I had a friend, shout out to her, so encouraging, about a year and a half ago. I was at Chipotle, and she said, I remember telling her, I was like, man, I just really can't wait for it to be. I was talking all about how people I know are getting successful, they're having kids, whatever it is. And here I was, kind of struggling along with this early days of the podcast and really trying my best and working my butt off and all this. And I'm not where I want to be. And I just remember saying I can't wait for it to be my turn. I just can't wait. I was so happy for everyone that I was talking about, but I was also like, man, when's it going to be my turn? And then she told me, she's like, it is your turn. And it wasn't until I heard that I really, it wasn't a permission thing, but I guess it was like a wake up call. It was like, oh yeah, true. You're not wrong. I agree. It is my turn. So, you step up and realize that today is, tomorrow's never promised. Today's here. Make the most of it. It is your turn now. So this episode really got me feeling good talking about this stuff. I really enjoy talking about all these concepts. If you want to be that person to jump on a conversation and then we can publish it and share it out to the listeners, I would love to hear from you. Send me a direct message on Instagram or email me. Email our team, at info@thehearthealthyhustle.com, spelled how it sounds. The word THE, hearthealthyhustle.com. Would love to hear from you. Let's have a conversation. I don't care what your situation is. If you're married, if you're single, if you are broke, or if you're really coming up, you've really hit it off and you're doing well with your finances. Either way, we can have a conversation. Just be comfortable with it being published and shared out to a lot of ears. And we can even do an alias name if that would make you more comfortable. But let's keep it real. I will share if you want to be comfortable with being open about all that. All right, so that being said, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, share this episode with anyone you think it will help, and just ask yourselves those questions, right? What's it going to look like for you to have your dream life, so to speak? What's it going to take? How much money is it going to cost? How can you get there? And, start writing out who do you want to be? What do you want to be doing in a year from now? And what will it take to get there? What are some action steps you can do over the next month, today? How can you start working towards that goal? I am so excited for you. I'm so pumped for the next year to come. I know that a lot is going on in the world right now. I want to challenge you to continue focusing on certain questions like this, in addition to what else is going on. Sometimes it does help to have, things like this to keep yourself going strong in hard times and turbulent times, which we are certainly going through right now as a society. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed it, please let me know. Go ahead and reach out. If you haven't left a review on iTunes, that helps the show so much. So I want to say thank you in advance. And if you have left if you have left a review, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It really means so much to me. You have no idea. If you haven't left one, it takes maybe 2 minutes and it will publish up on the iTunes thing. You can use a fake name if you want to. You don't want to put your real name on there. I really appreciate it, guys. You are what makes the show go round, and without you, I wouldn't want to do this. I wouldn't even do this. So thank you so much. And before I go, I want to remind you of the main point of this entire episode, which was every time you spend on things, you are postponing your ability to perhaps achieve your dream life or achieve your dream or get to the bigger goal that you're, oh, I really want to have my own place, but there's no way I can afford that for X amount of years based on what I get paid now or what I'm earning. And therefore, I'm just going to get this stuff in the meantime, get myself a new car, get a bag of new clothes every month, all this and that. And guess what? 10 years goes by and you are still unable to get that because you haven't been disciplined. I know it hurts to hear it, but you got to start associating spending with pain. And that pain is postponement of perhaps your dream life. Keep that in mind. Again, the main point of this episode, every single time you spend, even on stuff that matters. And this is where it's hard. You got to make choices that really delay gratification. Here's why. When you get into that dream life, or let's just call it a house or whatever that big thing you're saving for, it's not going to make you happy, right? It's just not. You're still going to be you. I'm still going to be Jonathan. It doesn't make that much of a huge difference, but here's where it does matter a lot. You're going to have achieved that, and you're going to know that about yourself, which is going to really help your self-confidence, which then really does, trying to think of a different word, but it manifests itself in different areas of your life. You're going to operate more confidently, perhaps, in other areas of your life. And if you do have that step taken, that could perhaps be a large step in achieving that, what you really want your day-to-day life to look like as in a dream state almost, right? Like in a way that you would love for your life to look like right now. Maybe you just don't see how it will be possible. I want to encourage you to press on. Don't get over-focused on that arrival or the goal. Enjoy the process now. Be grateful for what you have. Always be content in every situation. And no matter what, always be generous. This is a bit of, I guess, an encore of what I was just sharing earlier. But once again, remember, every time you pick up that item, every time you shop online and hit buy, every purchase that you make will postpone the bigger vision, perhaps, from coming as soon as it possibly could. Every purchase, that pack of gum, that bag of candy, and again, I'm not saying don't buy gum, but what I am saying is every purchase matters, every single one. So keep that in mind. Don't over-focus on it, but just remember, if you can start associating giving your income away, aka spending, with pain and that dreadful feeling of like, did I really need to buy that? Take the item out of the picture and then look at everything else left in a purchasing transaction. The only things that happen is you waste your time and you give your money away, right? How many times do we go, what did I even buy last year? We can't really remember most of the time, if we're honest. All right, guys, I hope that drives the point home. I like this concept a lot, and it has blessed me a lot, and I am working on it a lot, and it's not easy at all. And I promise you, if you can master this and master yourself in this area, I think you're going to be very happy with the results. Until next time, Godspeed. Fearless.